Well, if you know anything about Coach Combs, he always brings the energy. I really think he's brought a new life, to the secondary. We lost most of our starters from last year, so we've got a lot of young guys that haven't been through the program. And Coach Combs, he's been here for a long time, and he's able to really bring that culture and what we stand for here at Ohio State, to the program. So it's great to have him.
Thanks, man.
Okay, hold on. Okay, next up, Stephen Means from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Marcus, just wanted to ask, Kerry Combs talked about back in the spring before a lot of the shutdown and the idea of starting a lot of you guys off at corner and then moving you around from there. And with so many open spots other than just Shaun Wade coming back, have you kind of moved around and, played slot, played outside corner? Where have you kind of been through all this, whether it was spring practice to now?
Right. So I've spent most of my time in the inside at the slot corner. But, we've all been pretty interchangeable as a unit. We've had a lot of guys bouncing around, and I think one thing he really preaches is versatility. And so, that's what we kind of stand for as a unit.
Next up, Bill Landis with The Athletic and Austin Ward on deck. Bill?
Marcus, what about your skill set do you think lends itself to playing well in that nickel position, and who else has been ripping with you there?
So we've worked, a couple of young guys there. Ronnie Hickman, I think he's been working some there. You got Cam Martinez, and then also, I think that's pretty much been it. And personally, I think, I've been in this program for a few years. I've had a lot of coaching, a lot of different coaches. And I think I've been able to bring a lot of that football knowledge to the position, along with my personal skill set. So I'm excited to get started and get to work with Coach Combs and have a great season.
Okay, next up, hey, hold on 1 second, guys. I'm going back and forth on a computer here. I don't know who I said was next. Oh, okay. Next up, Bill Landis with The Athletic and Jeremy Birmingham on deck. Bill?
I just went Jerry, so Birmingham.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah, okay. I told you I was going back and forth. All right. Next up, Jeremy Birmingham, Letterman Row with Rob Aller on deck. Jeremy?
And Marcus, can you just give a little insight into how you personally are feeling after kind of a really circular route to get actually coached by Coach Combs? Because obviously he recruited you. You've now had 3 defensive backs coach in the last couple of years. Like, how are you handling all this, and what does it mean to you finally to get a chance to play for the guy that recruited you to Ohio State?
Like you said, I've had every year it seems, some changes in our coaching. Guys move up, move on to the next level or what have you. And I think, just with all that coaching, it's just brought so much knowledge and so much different techniques and styles, that I've been able to bring and utilize on the field. And now that, Coach Combs is back, it's really rejuvenated me, and, kind of reminded me of why we come here. We come here to win championships and to get to the next level. And Coach Combs, he preaches that every day. And so we've had that relationship, since I was 15. He started recruiting me. So it's great to have him back. And every day, we walk in with a smile on our face, ready to get to work. So.
What was his reaction to you the first time that he got to see you now after being away for a couple of years? And, what was his feedback on how you'd grown since you got to Ohio State?
Right. So, Coach Combs, of course, he came in and, he understood, my career here hasn't been ideal or hasn't been, perfect for myself. But, you come in, he's brought that new sense of energy. And, he came in the first day and told me, that you're still the same player that I recruited. And let's get to work. And I think, we've just been making extreme strides, since he's been here. So it's great to have him.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Next up, and hey, folks, let's do this. If I call on someone, I know some of you guys have specific questions for Coach Combs and maybe not for the student athletes. I'm going to just go down my list so I don't get even more confused. But you can just pass on it if you'd like, and I'll certainly get around on this list a couple of times, so we should be able to get everybody to be able to ask questions with who they need to. So next up, Rob Aller from the Columbus Dispatch with Joe Dempsey on deck. Rob?
Hey, Marcus, thanks for doing this. Hey, how important is the Best in America tag that you guys kind of pride yourselves on, and how much do you have to pass sort of the history of that and the importance of that on to younger guys?
Right. So, you hear the term BIA, and, you really don't know what it means. It might take a year, it might take 2 years to really get a true understanding of what it is. But, Coach Combs, he originated it, with some of those guys like Garyon and Marshawn and, the greats that have came through here. And what he preaches, is that, we're not competing against the guy next to us. We're competing against them. We're trying to, push that bar higher that all those first rounders have set here. And so every day, we go out with that thought process that, we come here and we want to be first rounders and we want to win championships. And he's not afraid to say it. We're not afraid to say it. That's the standard here, and that's what we always try to uphold.
Next up, Joe Dempsey with Buckeye Sports Bulletin and Tony Girdman on deck. Joe?
Hey, Marcus. Hope you're doing well. Now that Tyreek Johnson's in his third year with the program, how has he developed on and off the field since coming in as a five-star recruit, and what's the next step for him?
Right. So, like you mentioned, Tyreek came in as a five-star, that five-star pedigree, and Tyreek's extremely talented. We've had some great guys in our unit, and sometimes, it's hard to really break through. But Tyreek, he comes to work every day with his head down, and he goes to work, So we're really excited for Tyreek. He's been showing great things, and we're excited to see him on the field this season.
Thank you.
Next up, Tony Girdman with Buckeye Scoop and Joey Kaufman on deck. Tony?
Marcus, you mentioned your career not going quite the way you wanted to this point, but now you're a senior looking like you are the guy in that spot. This is kind of a free year for you as well because it's basically a redshirt year for everybody. So how do you feel right now having this opportunity, and I guess what is your determination right now to make the most of it?
So like you said, I came in pretty much injury-ridden, my first couple of years. And anybody that, goes through injuries, you got the great stories here, like, Johnny Dixon. You've got the Justin Hilliards, these great stories of these comebacks. And luckily, I haven't had, these, major, like Achilles and knee, but, I've had my struggles. And having this year, having this extra year, it's given me a new lifeblood. I'm so ready to help this team and help us win. And I think that's really the driving force behind it. Now that I've stepped into a leadership role, I just love this team so much. And I just want to do whatever we can to win, man. So I'm ready to get excited. I'm ready for week one. We've done a lot of waiting. I've done a lot of waiting, and I think we're ready as a team.
Next up, Joey Kaufman of the Columbus Dispatch with Mary Smith on deck. Joey?
Marcus, as far as you guys have, much of this offseason has been condensed, and there obviously hasn't been a lot of opportunities to practice in pads and work on fundamentals like tackling. Where do you guys, and it seems like pads might come on next week, but where do you guys feel like you are as far as a lot of just defensive fundamentals?
So, yeah, not having pads on in practice, it definitely has its difficulties. But, I think Coach Day, our defensive staff and our staff as a whole, they preach practicing like a pro. And so without having those pads on, you're able to, practice those fundamentals, having a great football position, playing low, having the right approach on a tackle. And I think it'll pay off once we get the pads on. And, yeah.
Next up, Mary Smith from WSYX Channel Smith with Channel 6 with Spencer Holbrook on deck. Mary?
Hey, Marcus. So I just had a question. Coach Combs has sent so many to pros. Can you guys hear me? Okay,
yes.
awesome. He has sent so many to pros. How has he helped you?
Well, Coach Combs, he spent 2 years in the league, and, he's always just had a great football knowledge and a great sense of technique. And, he's really brought that knowledge back to us and really just helped us to take that next step forward. understand where we are and where we want to go. So it's been great to have him.
Thank you.
We're going to take just 2 or 3 more questions for Marcus and then bring in Coach Combs. Next up, Spencer Holbrook from Letterman Row with Dan Hope on deck. Spencer?
Marcus, when you come in to the program with guys like Jeff and the talent that you came in with in the secondary, what did you learn from the years with those guys that can kind of help you take that next step and become what they were in the past?
First, those are my teammates, and so you really just, you feed off of each other, and, being able to sit down and watch those guys and how they compete, and understanding that, I came in with those guys too. And so, just trying to reach that standard that, a guy like last year, like Jeff set, and guys previous, it's something that we all strive for, and I strive for personally. So.
Next up, Dan Hope with 11 Warriors and Patrick Murphy on deck. Dan?
Hey, Marcus. Tony mentioned before about, you guys getting the extra year of eligibility. Have you thought about that at all? About, you thought this was going to be your last year and, now you might have that opportunity to come back for a second year?
Right. Well, 2020 has been a crazy year for us as a nation and as a whole. And coronavirus and the pandemic, it's brought a lot of issues, but it's also, it's been a blessing in disguise for me. I've had some seasons cut short here, and having this extra year, it gives me, a sense of freedom, to just go out there and play and have fun and be that leader for the guys that I think we need on defense, and that, we can really strive and go do big things this year. So great to be back, great to have that year, and just ready to get started.
Thanks, Marcus.
And last question for Marcus comes from Patrick Murphy with 24/7 Sports. Patrick?
Marcus, you mentioned not having pads. I'm curious how much tackling you guys have done. We've seen teams throughout the country kind of start the season slow. Some teams haven't practiced tackling at all. Obviously, you guys have some time, but how much have you guys been able to do in that department?
So, we haven't had pads on much, like I mentioned earlier. But, there's ways, practice having, a great approach to the tackle, having great football position, playing low, playing with great eyes. And that's something we drill every day and we emphasize. And so once those pads come on, it's like taking the training wheels off, So having those practice habits every day and practicing like a professional, I think will really pay off for us as a team.
Marcus, that'll do it for tonight. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great week. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you, guys.
All right, next